You yawn every day, but what if I told you that each yawn is a spiritual game of Russian roulette? And that, depending on how you yawn, you're opening a door for dense energies and even entities to enter your body. This isn't superstition. It's a biological technology that ancient sages like Thoth knew and feared. Modern science ignores this, but your body doesn't. In this video, I'm going to reveal exactly what enters and leaves you with each yawn, and show you the correct method for yawning that protects you and the method that leaves you completely vulnerable. The truth, I'm going to show you, will forever change how you see this simple act. Stay with me until the end, because what you're going to learn today could be the difference between feeling light and protected or heavy and drained. If you've already yawned today, comment, "I opened the portal." The body is the instrument of the soul. We all do it every day. It's such a common gesture that it's become invisible. A reflex we barely notice. But what if I told you that this act, the yawn, is much more than a simple sign of tiredness? What if it's actually a door that opens without your permission? Think of it as software running in the background of your system, something you never installed. But that's there, operating under rules you don't know. Every time your mouth opens in that involuntary spasm, a crack opens in the fabric of your reality, a momentary breach that connects your inner world with what exists outside, in a way that's much deeper than just the exchange of gases. Ancient cultures, from sages to shamans, did not see yawning as a mere physiological reflex. They treated it with an almost fearful respect, as if they were facing a sacred and dangerous event. For them, it wasn't the body asking for oxygen, it was the soul breathing. It was a portal opening without the consent of the conscious mind, a momentary vulnerability in the energy field that protects us. They knew that, in those brief seconds, we are not only physically exposed, but also energetically. This ancestral wisdom was passed down through generations, not as superstition, but as a survival manual for the soul. Imagine your body as a temple and your mouth as one of its main gates. Normally, you are the guardian of this gate, deciding what enters and what leaves through your words and your diet. But yawning is different. It opens the gate without asking your permission. It's an act that comes from a deeper layer of your being, a bodily intelligence that operates beyond your conscious control. And if this intelligence is opening a door, it's because something needs to enter or something needs to leave. The question the ancients asked themselves wasn't why do we yawn, but rather what is happening in this exchange. This perception leads us to an uncomfortable question. What exactly crosses that door when you unconsciously open your mouth? If yawning is an opening, it works both ways. Something can be released from within you, but something can also be absorbed from the environment. What did these ancient cultures know that we have forgotten? They understood that the world is not only physical but also energetic, and that certain actions make us more or less susceptible to these energies. Yawning was seen as one of these moments of maximum susceptibility, a crack in our energetic armor. And this transmission leads us to the most disturbing aspect of yawning. It's contagious. You don't need to be tired or bored. Just seeing someone yawn, hearing the characteristic sound, or even reading the word, and your body responds with an almost uncontrollable need to do the same. Modern science offers an elegant explanation for this. Mirror neurons, brain cells that fire both when we act and when we see someone else act. It's the basis of empathy, of imitation. But this explanation, while correct, doesn't answer the fundamental question: why specifically this gesture? Why don't we imitate coughs or sneezes with the same intensity? The scientific answer seems to stop at the surface, describing the how without touching on the why. If it were merely a matter of empathy, other emotional gestures would be equally contagious. But yawning has a unique power, an ability to spread that seems to transcend simple imitation. Ancient tribes in Oceania, for example, did not see it as a viral contagion, but as a synchronization of souls. For them, when a person yawned, they opened an energy field, and others around them, by yawning as well, were actually tuning into that same frequency, like the strings of a guitar vibrating together when one of them is plucked. This idea of synchronization isn't just an ancient belief. Consider the animal kingdom. Wolves in a pack yawn in sequence, not out of sleepiness, but to align alertness and group cohesion before a hunt. Domestic dogs often yawn when their owners are anxious or when the emotional environment of the house changes. It's not tiredness, it's resonance. Their bodies are picking up on a change in the energy field and responding to it. They are synchronizing with the emotional state of their pack leader, which in this case is you. The human body, similarly, is an incredibly sensitive biological instrument. So when you yawn out of nowhere for no apparent reason, who or what are you synchronizing with? Perhaps you've entered an environment and your body has detected an energy that your conscious mind hasn't perceived. Perhaps someone miles away, with whom you have a strong emotional connection, has experienced a great release of stress, and your nervous system, through an invisible entanglement, has picked up that signal. Yawning, in this context, ceases to be a personal act and becomes a collective event, a form of non-verbal communication in a network we don't see. This resonance network explains why yawning can spread through a classroom, an office, or an auditorium in a matter of seconds. It's not a chain reaction of boredom, but a collective energetic alignment. One individual releases tension, opening a frequency, and the other bodies, by instinct, respond to this call, releasing their own tensions to harmonize with the group. It's a social regulation mechanism that operates at a completely subconscious level, keeping the tribe, whether it's a family or a work team, in energetic harmony. This brings us dangerously close to what truly enters and leaves you. If your body can synchronize with another person's energy to the point of mimicking such a profound physical act, it means you are constantly in an energetic exchange with everything and everyone around you. Yawning is merely the most obvious manifestation of this process. It's visible proof that your barriers aren't as solid as you imagine. And if you can pick up and resonate with someone's energy, it means you can also absorb it. And that energy you absorb may not just be one of calm or relief. The wind that nobody sees. This synchronization and exchange of energies leads us directly to Eastern traditions. For them, the body is not merely a set of organs and systems functioning mechanically. It is traversed by a vital force, a subtle energy that Hindus call prana and the Chinese qi. This energy flows through channels like invisible rivers, nourishing every cell of our being. When the flow is free and abundant, we feel vitality, clarity, and well-being. But when this flow becomes blocked, stagnant, the energy accumulates and becomes dense, causing what we call stress, anxiety, exhaustion, and even physical illnesses. What causes these blockages? Repressed emotions, negative thoughts, past traumas, a misaligned lifestyle. All of this creates dams in these rivers of energy. The body, in its innate wisdom, possesses mechanisms to try to break through these dams and restore the flow. Yawning is one of the most powerful of these mechanisms. It is an emergency release, a forced breath of air that acts like a shockwave on the energy system, shaking and releasing stagnant energy. It's a forced reboot of your internal operating system, a true biological reset. This is why experienced meditators in deep states of concentration may begin to yawn profusely, even without feeling sleepy or bored. What is happening is that the meditative practice is bringing deep energetic blockages to the surface, and the body is using yawning as its main tool to expel them. Each yawn is a piece of tension, an old memory, or a crystallized emotion being released from the system. The body is cleansing itself from the inside out, expelling old, dense air to make way for new, clean, high-frequency energy. Think of your energy field as a room. If you never open the windows, the air becomes stale, heavy, and dusty. Yawning is the act of throwing open those windows. The deep, sudden inhalation draws in a huge amount of fresh prana from the environment, while the exhalation, often accompanied by a guttural sound, expels the dense, stagnant energy that had accumulated. It's such a natural and efficient purification mechanism that we do it without even thinking. But a lack of awareness of this process prevents us from using it to its full potential. But here a crucial question arises that brings us closer to the central secret. If yawning releases stagnant energy, that means that energy leaves you and goes somewhere. It is released into your surrounding environment. And, on the other hand, if you are drawing in fresh prana, what else might be coming along with it? The nature of what you absorb depends entirely on the quality of the environment you are in. If you yawn in the middle of a forest, you are inhaling pure vital energy. But what if you yawn in the middle of a heated argument? This leads us to an inevitable and somewhat frightening conclusion. If something can leave, something can enter the space that has been left empty. Yawning, by creating this release, leaves a momentary vacuum in your energy field. And nature, both physical and energetic, abhors a vacuum. This space will be filled immediately. The big question is, filled with what? What if your own body, in its attempt to heal itself, is actually opening a door to something you don't want to invite in? Is there a way to control this process? The answer lies in a physical component that science is only now beginning to understand. And this connection between the physical and the energetic, between cleansing and absorption, leads us to a surprising discovery of modern science that, unintentionally, began to validate what the ancient sages always knew. In investigating the neurological mechanisms of yawning, scientists found an unexpected protagonist, a structure that seems to be the key to this whole mystery: the vagus nerve. This is no ordinary nerve. It is the longest and most complex of the cranial nerves, a true information superhighway that extends from the brain to the abdomen, connecting to the heart, lungs, digestive system, and other vital organs. The vagus nerve is the main component of our parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for our ability to relax, digest, and heal. It's the body's brake, the system that takes us out of fight or flight mode and puts us in rest and repair mode. When the vagus nerve is activated, our heart rate slows, our breathing deepens, and a feeling of calm spreads throughout the body. It is, literally, the biological switch for inner peace. And guess what one of the most potent and natural activators of the vagus nerve is? Exactly, yawning. When you yawn, the deep movement of the diaphragm, the expansion of the rib cage, and the stretching of the jaw and neck muscles send a direct stimulation signal to the vagus nerve. It's as if you're pressing a biological reset button. This activation sends a wave of calming electricity throughout your system, instantly combating the effects of stress and anxiety. That's why we yawn when we're nervous before a presentation, or when we finally relax after a stressful day. The body, with its innate wisdom, is using this tool to self-regulate. But the function of the vagus nerve goes far beyond simply calming us down. It's also the bridge between our mind and our intuition, the famous gut feeling. You know that feeling in your stomach that tells you something is wrong? That's your vagus nerve sending information from your gut, our second brain, directly to your brain. It's the physiological basis of our subtle perception. Therefore, when yawning activates this nerve, it's not just calming us down, it's sharpening our sensitivity, opening our channels of perception to information that isn't captured by the 5 common senses. This activation puts us in a state of heightened receptivity, almost as if preparing us to perceive something we don't normally see or feel. Yawning, by stimulating the vagus nerve, is effectively tuning our biological instrument to capture more subtle frequencies from the environment. It makes us more sensitive to the energies around us, to the emotions of other people, and to the vibrations of a place. It's the biological explanation for the synchronization of souls that the ancients described. We are literally tuning in to the field. This reveals an even deeper layer of the mystery. Yawning isn't just a door opening, it's a mechanism that simultaneously increases our sensitivity to what lies on the other side of that door. It calms us so we can perceive more clearly. But this heightened sensitivity is a double-edged sword. It allows us to absorb positive energies more efficiently, but it also makes us much more vulnerable to negative energies. And if our ancestors knew this, it makes perfect sense that they developed methods to protect themselves during this moment of total openness. The guardians of the open mouth. The awareness that yawning was a vulnerable opening, a portal that opens when our sensitivity is at its peak, led our ancestors to a logical and inevitable conclusion. It was necessary to protect this door. The almost universal gesture of covering the mouth when yawning, which today we consider a mere sign of good manners or hygiene, has much deeper roots. It wasn't about hiding teeth or preventing the spread of germs. It was an instinctive act of energetic protection, a shielding ritual practiced by cultures around the world, even those that never had contact with each other. In ancient Rome, for example, it was common for people to make the sign of the cross over their mouths when yawning. They believed that the act opened the soul to the entry of evil spirits or the plague, which was seen not only as a physical illness, but as a negative spiritual influence. The sign of the cross functioned as a sacred seal, a declaration that that portal was protected and that nothing unwanted could enter. It was a practical application of their cosmology, a recognition that the invisible world constantly interacted with the physical one. This belief was not unique to the Romans. In Mesopotamia, millennia earlier, priests warned that an unintentionally open mouth, as in a yawn, was an invitation to wandering entities seeking a home or a body to influence. In West Africa, griots, the guardians of stories and wisdom, taught that a yawn could announce the approach of a nature spirit or an ancestor. Covering the mouth was a sign of respect, and also a way to maintain control over the interaction, ensuring that communication happened on the individual's terms and not through an intrusion. This practice of spiritual hygiene was taken very seriously because they understood something that our modern society has forgotten. Depending on where you are and who you are with, what enters through that door may not be something you want inside yourself. Yawning in a hospital, in a cemetery, or even during a heated argument was considered extremely unwise. These places and situations were seen as charged with dense energies such as sadness, pain, or anger, and yawning would make the person an easy target to absorb this negativity. The gesture of covering the mouth, therefore, functioned in two ways. Physically, it created a barrier, but more importantly, energetically, it was an act of intention. By bringing their hand to their mouth, the person was declaring, consciously or unconsciously, "This space is mine. I am in control." It was a reminder to their own soul to remain anchored and protected during that brief moment of vulnerability. It was an act of personal sovereignty, a way of telling the universe that, although the door was opening, there was a watchful guardian at the gate. This wisdom has survived in a diluted form within our superstitions and customs. The idea that something bad can enter when we yawn still echoes in many cultures. But now, understanding the mechanics of the vagus nerve and energetic resonance, we can see that it wasn't a fantasy. It was an accurate observation of a real phenomenon. Yawning opens us up, and if this opening happens at specific moments of change of state, it means that the very act of yawning is a sign that we are about to cross a boundary. And this idea of crossing boundaries leads us to observe a fascinating pattern. Have you ever noticed when we yawn the most, it's not random? Yawning appears with impressive frequency at liminal moments in life, at the boundaries where one state of being transforms into another. It is the biological marker of transitions. The most obvious example is sleep. We yawn repeatedly before falling asleep, at the exact threshold between waking consciousness and the world of dreams. And we yawn again upon waking on the way back, bringing our consciousness back to the physical body. Yawning, in this context, functions as a biological rite of passage. Before sleep, it relaxes the nervous system through the vagus nerve, preparing the body to switch off and allowing consciousness to detach itself to travel in the astral plane or in dreams. Upon waking, yawning does the opposite. It reactivates the system, stretches the muscles that have been immobile, and helps to pull consciousness back to a state of full alertness. It is the gatekeeper that opens and closes the doors of perception at the beginning and end of each day, managing the transition between two worlds. But this transition marker function isn't limited to the sleep cycle. Midwives in rural areas of Europe and other parts of the world still observe that newborns yawn deeply in the first moments of life. Popular wisdom says they yawn when the soul of an ancestor comes to visit them, or when the soul itself is finishing anchoring in the physical body. The yawn marks the monumental transition from the spiritual world, where the soul came from, to the physical world. It is one of the body's first acts to adjust to a new vibrational reality. The same pattern occurs in emotional transitions. We yawn before we start to cry, as if the body were opening a floodgate to release the pressure of sadness. We yawn after an intense argument, when adrenaline drops and the body tries to return to a state of equilibrium. In both cases, the yawn marks the passage from one emotional state to another, from tension to release, from containment to expression. It is the physical sign that a profound internal change is happening or about to happen. In sacred ceremonies and rituals, the phenomenon is even more pronounced. In practices such as temazcal, an indigenous sacred sauna, or holotropic breathing sessions, participants often yawn intensely and continuously. In these contexts, yawning is not a sign of tiredness, but of the release of old memories, cellular traumas, and deep conditioning. The body, when placed in a higher vibrational state, uses yawning to purge and adjust itself, allowing consciousness to expand. It is the ritual the body performs to cross a spiritual threshold. Therefore, yawning is not just an isolated physical event. It is a signal, a code that informs us that we are at a point of transition, whether it's the passage from wakefulness to dreaming, from the spiritual world to the physical, from tension to relief, or from the profane to the sacred. Yawning is there, managing the boundary. It is the physical manifestation of a spiritual event happening in real time. And if yawning is the key that opens the door during these transitions, this leads us directly to the great revelation about what, after all, is being exchanged. The revelation of Thoth, what goes in and what comes out. Now, putting all the pieces together, we arrive at the heart of the mystery, the truth that Thoth, the divine scribe of Egypt, the master of magic and wisdom, is said to have encoded in the very workings of the human body. Yawning is not a defect, a system error, or a simple reflex. It is an advanced spiritual technology embedded in our biology. It is a two-way portal, a sophisticated mechanism of energy exchange, and what goes in and what comes out depends fundamentally on two factors: the environment you are in, and more importantly, your level of consciousness. First, let's talk about what comes out. Every time you yawn, your body is performing a cleansing, an energetic discharge. What is expelled? Stagnant energy, the emotional residue of a stressful day, the density of negative thoughts, fatigue that is not only physical but psychic. Yawning is your soul's exhaustion system. It takes the energetic toxins that have accumulated in your field and expels them. That's why a deep yawn can bring such an immediate feeling of relief and lightness. Your body literally expels a weight you were carrying. But as we have seen, nature abhors a vacuum. The moment this dense energy is released, a space is created, and this space needs to be filled. And this is where the second part of the revelation comes in: what goes in. What you absorb from the environment to fill this vacuum depends entirely on the energetic quality of your surroundings. If you yawn in a calm and natural environment, like a beach or a forest, you absorb pure prana, high-frequency vital energy that nourishes and revitalizes your entire being. You feel recharged. However, if you yawn in an energetically charged or negative environment, the result is the opposite. Imagine yawning in the middle of a crowded shopping mall, on a subway during rush hour, or next to someone who is radiating anger or despair. By opening your personal portal in this type of environment, you risk absorbing this dense energy. Instead of feeling relieved, you may feel even more tired, irritated, or heavy after yawning, without understanding why. You performed the cleansing, but the space was filled with an even lower quality of energy. Here is the secret that Thoth is said to have entrusted to us. The decisive factor in this exchange is your consciousness. A person who yawns completely unconsciously is like a house with its door open on a busy street. Anyone can enter. They are completely at the mercy of the energies of the environment. But a person who is conscious of the process can control what enters and what leaves. The question ceases to be whether something enters or leaves and becomes what. Yawning ceases to be a passive act and becomes an active tool. The forbidden truth about yawning, therefore, is that it's an invitation to master your own energy field. It's living proof that you are in constant exchange with the universe and that you have the power to manage this flow. It's not about being afraid to yawn, but about becoming aware of what's happening when you do. With this awareness, you can transform an automatic reflex into an act of power, using it to intentionally cleanse yourself and protect yourself from unwanted influences. And this understanding changes everything. Now that you understand that yawning is a portal and that you don't need to be a passive victim of this process, the question changes how to use this to your advantage, how to transform this mechanism from a potential risk into a powerful tool of personal power. The answer is simple: intention. By bringing awareness to the act, you take command. You can stop being a boat adrift in the energetic currents of the environment and become the captain of your own ship, deciding what enters your port and what is sent out. In many forms of energy healing therapy, such as Reiki, pranic healing, or acupuncture, a patient's yawn is a sign celebrated by the therapist. It doesn't indicate boredom, but rather that stagnant energy, the blockage that was causing the problem, has finally begun to move and be released. It's a sign that healing is happening. The body, upon receiving an influx of high-frequency energy, uses its natural purging mechanism to expel what is no longer needed. The yawn is physical proof of a successful energy release. You don't need a therapist to do this. You can use this tool right now. The next time you feel the urge to yawn, instead of suppressing it or acting on it absent-mindedly, try doing the opposite. Surrender completely to the yawn, take a deep breath, open your mouth wide, and as you exhale, do so with a clear intention. Visualize that you are releasing all the anxiety of your day, all the frustration from a difficult conversation, all the sadness that may be stored in your chest. Use the sound of your exhalation to enhance this release. By doing this, you transform an unconscious reflex into a conscious act of purification. You are collaborating with your body's wisdom, enhancing a process that already happens naturally. Imagine you have an extremely efficient energy cleansing tool working 24 hours a day, and that until now you used it automatically without reading the manual. Now you have the manual, you can direct this tool to cleanse specific areas of your life or your emotional body. Feel the relief that comes afterward. It's real, but cleansing is only half the equation. What about what goes in? You can control that too with your intention. When you breathe deeply during a yawn, visualize yourself drawing in not just air, but the energy you wish to incorporate. If you need peace, imagine yourself inhaling a calming blue light. If you need energy and vitality, visualize a bright golden light filling every cell of your body. If you need mental clarity, imagine a crystalline white light clearing your mind. Use your imagination as the programming tool. With this simple practice, yawning ceases to be a moment of vulnerability and becomes an empowering ritual that you can perform